Welcome to our second Hopcast Half Pint. This one we actually promise will not be 2 hours long.
Promise.
That the idea was a great idea, wonderful idea that we do this mini version of the Hopcast. Then we bought 8 beers, and it all went a bit wrong last time. But this time is a much more sensible 3 beers that we have, which is still one more than what we anticipated, but that is for very specific reasons, because we kind of have a mini beer of the month in the middle of our 2 choices that we've brought along. I should mention this is the first time that we're recording the Half Pint in my new office, my new place of work, which is Podcast Websites, who are the lovely people that have been doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff on the Hopcast since it launched, and who, even nicer than that, they now pay me a wage. We're going to be recording this in my office moving forward. We, possibly even from next month, are going to try and do either some kind of video feed of it, or possibly a Periscope or Facebook Live or something. We're not dressed for it right today.
We've got there's some equipment ready.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. We have got all the equipment here.
All the gear.
Yeah.
No idea.
So it's just a matter of doing it. Right. We should start with the beer, and I'm going to start with the one that I've brought along. And this is Two Roads. You familiar with Two Roads?
Yeah, American, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're in New York. Might be Stratford. They tend to do a lot of these kind of goses and sours made with quite unusual ingredients, unusual kind of fruiting processes. And this is no exception. So this is the Sauvignon Blanc Gose. The only reason I've picked this is because it means I get to say Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, no, I can't do it, can you?
Sauvignon Blanca.
Can't go Savcav for this one, can you?
Now, this is obviously made with Sauvignon Blanc grapes. I'm a fan of sours, but sometimes I find that sours border a little bit too much on being like wine. This is almost literally a wine beer sort of hybrid. So I really don't know what I'm going to make of this one.
The only one I can think close to this is a Ridgeside one I had recently, which was I think it was like a white grape, might be an IPA. So I think it was trying to be a little bit wine influenced, but
it smells like wine.
Smells like wine. Pint of wine. It looks like wine.
Everything about it so far is very wine-esque. I've not poured that particularly well.
Doesn't smell like wine.
You don't get a head like that on wine. You don't get a head like that on beer.
It looks more like a cider, actually.
Okay.
I'm not really getting anything significant from the smell.
Oh, that's not as bad as I expected it to be at all.
That's nice.
That's quite pleasant, actually. That's quite drinkable. I'm so relieved.
That's hot weather. That's hot weather beer. That.
Well, it's only, I think it's 4.6, 4.8%. Let me find it. 4.8%. So quite literally, that would be a really good beer to just sit in the sunshine with, because it's not going to cause you too much damage.
It is one of those ones where I think that if someone blind tasted, I wouldn't necessarily say it was even beer.
We're back to the whole what makes a beer debate, aren't we? And how that works. That's all right.
It's really nice, yeah.
I think to 2 or 3 mouthfuls, it's a tiny bit anonymous.
It's a pint can as well.
Quite a lot of it for.
Oh no, it's an American pint. Doesn't count.
Oh, right, it's 40. Yeah, it's less than 500 ml then.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. We've got things to talk about then. Firstly, let's talk about Peakender. We talked about this a little bit last time on the Half Pint, although we might have been a bit tipsy by that point.
Yep.
So Peakender is fast approaching this weekend. I'm there Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, and I'm there Saturday, Sunday.
We are hopeful of some kind of content coming out of it.
I thought you were going to say good weather. But...
Well, we're hopeful of not shit weather. Have you seen the forecast?
No.
It's just a bit dull. A little bit of rain maybe on Friday morning. The problem I've got with this at the moment is that the weather forecast, like even the day before, it's so changeable.
Yeah,
and generally so wrong.
Was supposed to be Sunday yesterday was supposed to be terrible weather, and actually it wasn't too bad. So we'll see. Any brewers have you had a look at who's there?
I've had a look at who's there. Yeah, I mean there's kind of if there's anyone that goes and they don't like any of the breweries there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's the great and the good from the UK beer scene. It's, in terms of breweries, an amazing lineup. I've not looked at. I think you've had a sneaky look at the beer list, haven't you?
No, I've not looked at it. I clicked on a link this morning and it said it wasn't safe.
Oh.
So. Maybe it's like that's how good the beer list is.
Wow.
You need to sit down before you click this link. I did tweet them though, and I thought maybe a good point was having them brought out the Big Easy non-alcoholic one, and obviously people are probably going to be travelling there by car. Wouldn't Sunday be like the perfect opportunity to do like a big push for that beer? Because there's obviously a designated driver. I mean, it's not somewhere. I mean, even in Sheffield, it's not easy to get to. It's like a 1 bus, 1 hour sort of journey. Yep. It doesn't have a train station, so someone's a designated driver somewhere. I'm like, you should have done like a big kind of almost like launch of that beer, because it is. I've had a few bottles of that now, and it is after my first initial one, which I drank after drinking alcoholic beer, and I was a bit like, ooh,
yeah, that's not going to work. Is it?
But the following two I've had have been absolutely really good, really impressed. So if you are a designated driver, just ask your local bottle shop to get some Big Easy, and would recommend it. It smells beautiful. It smells so good.
No, I've not tried it yet, but Sean was really raving about it, wasn't he? On the last episode of the Hopcast. And Sean is a guy that knows his stuff about beer. He's not going to say that something's all right when it's not. So yeah, I do need to try that. I don't. It is a bit of a pain to get to Bakewell, and I've made absolutely zero preparations for it. So I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to get home. I don't have a tent. I've not camped for years.
I've got a spare tent.
I don't know. I may try and wangle some kind of like upgrade into a teepee or something, and see whether like glamping, is it called?
Yeah.
See if I can like wangle something like that, because I don't think I can even put up a tent.
I went last year on the Sunday, so I'm not camped there. So we drove on the Sunday. Luckily, didn't get Deso driver. But as far as parking and stuff, and people there on Sunday, it was dead easy to park. I imagine people would probably pack down camping, but it is literally next to the sort of section where you would be drinking, and it's not a big place. It's not like you're going to a big music festival and you're walking for a couple of miles before you get to anywhere, and it's all kind of in the one big kind of area, so you're not having to kind of go through extra levels of security. I think once you're in, and I imagine, I'm hoping that you can kind of meander between going to the bar and maybe sitting back at your tent with a beer, which I'm kind of hoping.
I don't think there's going to be any.
I'm taking a 3-year-old.
There's no rules, is there? You're going to be able to do
one of us is going to have to manage the tent at some point. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. The beer list, like I said, I mentioned it last podcast as well, is really well priced, keg and cask. And I found that every time a beer was swiped off that board, it was very quick before someone was putting a new one on. Rather than saying, well, that's gone, that's now an empty line. It was pretty much all the lines were up there till Sunday, and then Sunday is a bit of a get rid of all the casks, so that you can't go back. So you're looking at it. If you stick around till late on Sunday, the tip is cheap pints. I think that's on the cask stuff. You're looking at maybe £1 a pint, something like that.
Just have a look at the weather forecast now. This is for Sheffield, but we can assume it's the same. Do they have a Bakewell section on this?
I think you can, yeah. I imagine it's slightly different.
So Friday, cloudy, bit breezy. Saturday, cloudy, bit breezy. Sunday, cloudy, gentle breeze.
No raindrops.
But 20 to 22 Celsius, so it's still going to be fairly warm. It's certainly not going to be chilly. That's pretty. I would say that's pretty perfect for a beer festival, because when it's really sunny, it really messes you up, doesn't it? It can really, by mid-afternoon, you've had a few beers, you can be really screwed up. So maybe I speak particularly for myself there, where I don't have a great track record at making it through the afternoon of beer festivals in the sunshine, or anything in the sunshine. So yeah, that's good. That's promising.
One thing I will say about Saturday afternoon, there's a lot of talks on from different breweries all weekend, but I think a lot of them sold out within maybe in the first hour. There was hints that there might be on the day kind of tickets available. They're not. Most of them are free, I think. Friends of the show, Beer O'Clock show, are doing a live thing. I think it's 1 o'clock on the Saturday. So maybe if you can kind of go down and see that. We're hoping to maybe get some content with those guys as well on the day. So
I've got my false boobs ready for my stage invasion. When I run on and do, was it Michael? It was Jarvis Cocker, Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something like that. I'm just going to kind of waft around my bottom for a bit. And I joke about it now, actually, after a few drinks on Saturday. Who knows?
They are doing a bit of a thing on Twitter at the minute, on their Hopinions, hashtag Hopinions Live. They're wanting to, they're looking for questions that they want to ask the Thornbridge guys, because I think they're getting them on stage. So if you've got any burning questions for Thornbridge, hit them up on Twitter. Hashtag Hopinions Live.
Well, there is a question to ask of Thornbridge at the moment, isn't there? Because we, obviously, in the last time that we did this, and in the main Hopcast as well, we touched on the subject of Beavertown, which was all the talk in the beer world for a while. And we got chatting a bit about Sheffield breweries and whether any of those could happen. And I made my bold prediction, which is, Thornbridge will be more likely to be the brewery that's looking to buy others rather than looking for investment. And about 3 days after that, they put out a statement saying they're open to investment.
Yeah, that's what happens when you record a podcast early.
Yeah. I thought it was the way that they phrased it was fairly clever. It wasn't kind of like we're desperate for it. I'm sure they've been watching the reaction to what's been going on with Beavertown with some interest, and deciding what their next kind of move is going to be. But I mean, don't know. Are you concerned?
I'm not really concerned now. I mean, they're at a level now that they're in supermarkets, core range stuff. But we've always said that they're doing a lot of stuff outside of that, which we're quite privileged in the sense that we get a lot of we've got 5, 6, 7 pubs, Sheffield, within a stone's throw. And there's beers that I turn up and see that I've never even heard about, or never, it's not been publicised. So they're still kind of catering for these like small beers, your Jaipurs and stuff, and like things like the Tart. What else are they doing small? I saw AMPM in Morrison's yesterday. Those core beers. They want to get them out there, and to keep up with the Joneses, they, of course they're going to want people to get their beers. Not everyone can go and have a bottle of, or a pint of Jaipur from their local. And if that's a way of getting, I'm all for it, as long as that kind of creative control is still there. Then I'm happy for them to look for a different angle to get some more exposure, I suppose.
I just worry a little bit that, depending if they got investment, just depending who it was, would a little bit of the Thornbridge magic die for me a bit? Yeah,
maybe.
Because in a beer sense, I've talked before about Jaipur being first beer and all that.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I've sort of, as a proper beer drinker, I've sort of grown up a little bit with Thornbridge, and it would be weird for them not to be. It's always been the same people. It's always been Thornbridge. It'd be weird if suddenly, they are a big brewery, but it doesn't feel like a big brewery. You go there, it still feels, we're quite pally with the chief exec, and you can kind of exchange messages on Twitter and stuff like that. It'd suddenly be weird if they were bigger than what they are now, even though they've got big, but they still feel down to earth.
I suppose it does actually, probably thinking about it, it does impact how I buy Thornbridge a little bit more now than in supermarkets. I don't know why, but if they weren't in Tesco, maybe I would buy them more. I don't know why that is. I think maybe it's just, I don't know what it is. I actually did buy like 5 or 6 bottles this weekend. I've had family around from Australia and I've been kind of spending a week in Yorkshire and been kind of getting some of the Barnsley Bitter and stuff. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go to Tesco on my way over there. I'm going to get 5 or 6 bottles of Jaipur and just slam them on the table and say, you should try this. And I also took a beer that we're going to try next to see what they thought of it.
Before we crack that up, and any final thoughts on the Two Roads?
I think it's really nice. It's not overly sour. It tastes a little bit cidery to me. That kind of like the middle of the road cider. So the strength's not there. Obviously the strength's not, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a tart goes. Or I don't want to say it's really salty either.
No, I still don't particularly understand what the difference is between a sour and a goza and stuff like that. But you do tend to get that salty kind of undertone to a goza that you certainly didn't get with that. I thought perfectly pleasant. Would I buy it again? No. I'm no interest in drinking it again.
I'd be happy to drink it, but I probably wouldn't go and buy it.
On the other hand, the beer that we're about to have now, which we've kind of squeezed into the middle for the reason that this is a beer that we've both had a few of.
A few. I think my blood's turned into it.
Are big fans of it. And this is Huckster, which is Abbeydale beer. It's actually done in collaboration with Pedlar. Most people from outside of Sheffield probably won't know what Pedlar is. Pedlar is like a night market event that actually starts at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon in a little place called Kelham Island, which is just outside of the centre of Sheffield, which has actually grown quite a good reputation for being pretty good for beer, and a real good fun either day out or evening out or even afternoon out or even weekend actually if it runs on 2 days. So it's a great little event. So they've done this beer called Huckster with Abbeydale Brewery, and we kind of came across this probably a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think I got a couple of cans from Sean, drunk those, and then I got about 7 or 8 more. I know like Laura works for Abbeydale and stuff, but I was thinking to myself the other night, I had a few cans of this, and I was thinking like, are they actually made by Brewer of the Year, not just in Sheffield, but just generally in terms of like what they're doing and what they've gone from and going to.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Like the sour, like just for example, like this is their brewery run beer festival, but there's probably over 100 beers. The Sunfest voted. One of their beers actually won the beer festival. Probably a bit embarrassing to them, but that was Unbeliever version 6, which is absolutely fantastic. Sort of 5.2% sort of sour, absolutely brilliant. But this is like your New England. This is a New England IPA essentially, 6%, 100 IBUs if anybody cares. Or but
this is off the can. Have you memorised that?
I am just looking at
it. Right, okay, cool.
Equinox. Sriracha Ace is the interesting one in this. Galaxy and Vic Secret are hops. Sriracha Ace being a bit of a Marmite hop, but I think it gives this a kind of a uniqueness. It's nice. It's in the middle. I literally can't get enough of it. I've drunk so much of it this week. What do you think, James?
I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of those beers that from smell to taste to aftertaste, everything about it is spot on. And it's worth mentioning it's 6%, which a lot of the New England style stuff now, you're talking 7-8% upwards. And I don't think that anything less than 6% particularly works in this style. It needs its strength to give it part of its taste. Yeah. So this is probably on the border of what you can do a really good. There's obviously a few exceptions to that, but generally speaking, a really good New England style IPA, and it's brilliant. I mean, even the can's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's everything about it.
It really is, and the reason that we've made sure that we use this tonight is because, as most people have probably knew or certainly figured out, that Laura, who's part of the main Hopcast panel, she works for Abbeydale, and she, I wouldn't say she necessarily plays that down, but she's always a little coy when we have an Abbeydale beer on, because she doesn't want people thinking, Abbeydale girl and all that kind of stuff. And we wanted to basically rave about how great a beer this is without embarrassing her.
Yeah.
So that's why we've done it on the Half Pint, because it is a superb beer. I don't know how widespread this is going to be available outside of Sheffield, which is a real shame, because there'll be a lot of people who would absolutely love this will really struggle to get hold of it, maybe outside of Sean's kind of informal beer delivery service, which is sad really, because it's up there or thereabouts in terms of beer of this style as being one of the best. It's up there for me with the Cloudwaters and with the Verdants.
you could slide this into a Cloudwater. I think it's slightly more Cloudwatery than Verdant. I think it's just slightly softer. It's not quite as like cloying. Well, it's not cloying at all. It's super. It's like a super refreshing 6% beer. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Sean does have some in. I've been in today, which is Monday, so for the next couple of days. I think he said he'd got a new batch when I spoke to him last. Beaches of Walkley up on South Road in Walkley definitely got some in. That's where I've been getting close to me. I imagine that Hideout and the other guys have probably got some in as well. It's not going to be repeated, I imagine, unless it's massively
the reaction's
successful.
been that good, because they don't have anything this modern in their core range, do they?
Not really. I mean, it's the Emporium range, which is the ones that you might see, which are kind of quite graphic. It's either they do the sort of stout range, they do the IPA, which is the Voyager ones, and the Unbeliever and the Sour, and then the Serenity, which is kind of if anybody tried the Tramlines one, which is kind of a 3% one, double the strength, but not really. You wouldn't feel it at all. I think it's just really, really, really good. Like I'm gutted that I've only got two cans left in my fridge. Might even be one.
Sure, you'll end up. I've only got one left in my fridge. And to be fair, this can's one of mine as well. So I've lovingly brought one of mine along to share. But it is one of those beers that you kind of want to drink with someone else because you want to sit and talk about how great it is, which you can't really do on your own.
440 can as well, which is Does this lead us on to Funkfest? Which is,
Well, it does lead on to Funkfest. We touched on it at the end of the main August edition of the Hopcast. I reckon that's going to be a really cracking event. I'm not really aware of any other sour-led festivals like that.
Well, I think Laura said that it's the only one that's ever been outside of London.
Right.
Obviously, not everything's well publicised, but I think as far as their research has shown. But yeah, it's in their brewery. It's Abbeydale, off Abbeydale Road, Abbeydale Brewery. I've never been to their brewery before. They have had some events there, but it is, like I said, it's a working brewery. It doesn't have a tap room. They're making space for this, and I think, as far as I'm aware, their list is available on their website now. I think Jim posted something on Facebook yesterday, the day before. But it just looks great. I know Charlton are there. Charlton are basically masters of the sour.
They are king of the sour.
There's a lot of collaborations. Some of the things that I've never been like a kind of a funky barrel aged kind of guy with any kind of beer, sour or not sour. But some of the things that I tasted off the back of indie beer fees, I think, that they had on like trials, absolutely fantastic. So just go and try this. It's Jim's little project. It was Laura's husband, which is called the Funk Dungeon. You can find the Funk Dungeon on Twitter as like an independent like sort of feed from Abbeydale, but it's Jim's baby. I think he's basically been tasked with being let loose essentially, really, from somewhere maybe 10 years ago. Abbeydale, very, very traditional. Now,
but seriously, like,
barrel aging
probably what 2 years ago, Abbeydale you would class as being a very traditional brewery. Even a year ago, there was still the kind of beginnings of this journey in terms of putting stuff out that was really breaking the mould of what you class as an Abbeydale brewery. And there's no, if we were recording this a year ago, we'd have talked about Abbeydale as being, a really good, really consistent, very reliable brewery. But they were never a brewery that particularly took any risks. And you talked about kind of, what would be brewery of the year. Not necessarily because of any of the individual beers, but because of the flexibility that they've shown in adapting to the market, and not just adapting to it, but now they're doing styles of beer better than people that were doing them before them. That's quite an achievement, really. For as we know, they're not in some super modern, amazing building with the fancy £1 million plus equipment that some other breweries have got. They're still using pretty traditional methods. I've got images of Jim literally in his dungeon, some kind of really damp, dark cellar, like jumping around in various different mash tuns and stuff, and smashing barrels open and liquid flying all over the place. But it does feel like it's got a real honesty to the whole project about what they're doing now. They're not trying to cut any corners. They're just making really good beers in a real honest way.
Well, they never really. I think one of the things. I think maybe they have done slightly. They've tested the water in the keg beer for probably quite a few years, but because they've never really done any small package beers until maybe the last few years, they've never bottled anything. It's one of the things where you'd find Farmer's Blonde, like at the time when we're talking about them being one of the traditional breweries, Farmer's Blonde, Kellam Island, Pale Rider in all these shops, even kind of the smaller supermarkets, independent shops. And you're thinking, why are Abbeydale not bottling moonshine or things like? And they've never done that until they've come to this point where they've done some specials, and now this Brewers Emporium range, which they're just flying out different versions of these like kind of now core beers, and with a twist, I suppose. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really look for them. If I'll get your stockist if you it's like out Sheffield. Ask them to get some in because they're a very progressive brewery now, and I think they suit a big wide audience. I think as well.
And roll on Funkfest because I think that's going to be great. And absolute huge, big credit to Abbeydale for Huckster. It is a superb beer. Yeah. We've got one more beer, which is one that you've brought along. Do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, I can do actually. Yeah. I'm keeping it Sheffield focus. I thought for the first proper kind of half pint, gone for a collaboration with 3 Sheffield breweries. The lead brewery, I think, being Steel City Brewing, with Lost Industry and Neepsend, and it's a Medusa. It's a Citra and I'm going to say Raku dry hop sour. I think this may have been bottled before, but I definitely had it on keg in the Rutland and really loved it. So we're going to go give this one a try. Can
I just give a quick mention to honestbrew.co.uk, who have supplied our bottle opener. They've also supplied us with a load of beer, which is very nice, which literally arrived at my work. It must have been 5 minutes before Adam arrived here, so we've unboxed it and had a look, and not had time to refrigerate any of them to enjoy as part of the half pint, which is a shame. But really nice of them to send us some new stuff. There's Jekyll and Hyde, which is the Wylam one in there. There's some just loads of really good stuff.
Ridgeside, Yellow Belly. There's some. Which is it? Is it Crack Brewery? Which is
I think Crack, yeah. I saw some of their stuff in Berlin when I was there. And
they were quite recently. They did a tap takeover at the Rutland, and they had quite a few of their beers on. A lot of fruit. It's almost like they know you, James. Very fruity.
So big thanks to them. So here we go with Medusa. Now this has definitely existed before, hasn't it? Because I'm sure we've talked about it.
I don't know if we've talked about it, but I've had it before. One of my friends at work would never be a drinker at all, Amy. And I think this was the first one I suggested she try. And now she's an absolute sour beer fiend. And I've almost got a tab at Sean's just to. She's like, when you go see Sean, just get me anything, and I'll trust your judgment. So I always say, that's back out. It's the first beer she tried.
It's nice. It's quite gentle, actually. It's not got as much of a kick as I thought it would have.
I think I've still got the Huckster kind of.
Yeah, that's Sriracha. Hop is.
This smells a lot. Kind of. It smells like sour. It's a lot tartar. It's is it 5%? Maybe it's 5 point. Yeah, 5%.
Actually, I know we've just been talking about it. It reminds me a lot of Unbeliever. Very similar sort of taste to it.
It's not.
I see now the taste coming through a bit more. It has got a kick to it. Actually, it is quite sour. That
it makes you wonder because I don't know. There's 3 breweries that I imagine that if you're not living in Sheffield, drinking in Sheffield a lot, maybe you're not as familiar. We have done interviews with Lost Industry and Neepsend. Neepsend are not known for like a sour beer at all. No. Steel City is basically Dave Unpronounceable. He doesn't have a brewery. He's a cuckoo brewer, which is, if anybody doesn't know, it's someone who borrows other people's breweries when it's available, essentially. And I think he was part of the collaboration which we went on the initial visit for Lost Industry when it was the big Stout Wars thing. He was the initial interview. He's a very, very good brewer, and he will do the hoppiest things imaginable. If anybody understands IBU ratings, he will try and get as high as humanly possible.
I don't understand IBU ratings.
I've got a feel. It's a bitterness scale.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like Scoville's with the chilies, but yeah, we all know Lost Industry are absolutely just I imagine this has been brewed at Lost Industry with Steel City as the kind of
Yeah.
kind of lead on it, I suppose.
Graphically, it looks like a Lost Industry thing.
Yeah,
Doesn't it?
he's big into his like kind of death metal, is Dave,
Yeah.
I think, and his artwork can kind of give that. I wouldn't let it put you off though. I think it makes very, very good beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
As and when he can, I suppose.
What news do we have to talk about? Have you got any goss?
A few things I've seen today.
It's kind of new pub month, isn't it?
It is a little bit, yeah. I've got a little bit of news. I'm going to say that I'm slightly out of Sheffield, but probably in the S postcode. So I just see a tweet from a new sort of micro pub in Chapeltown, which is Chapeltown Tap House and Gin Bar.
Chapeltown's in
Gin bar.
Sheffield. It's not outside of Sheffield. Chapeltown's very much in Sheffield.
You think it is?
Yeah, absolutely is.
Well, I'm more referring to the other point, but they've now got the keys for their place, which if anybody in Chapeltown, little roundabout in the centre next to the Wetherspoons, there's a kind of the old, basically the railway arches essentially. So we're going old railway arch. So I think it's the left-hand side railway arch is now becoming a bit like a micro pub, which is great. I think we've got the commercial pub, which is up the road, which is a really good traditional ale pub, and Wentworth just round the corner. So good luck to those guys. Very, very minimal kind of social media stuff at the minute, but hopefully that's going to have something that we can kind of. It's bang next to the train. Well, essentially it's next to the train station because it's under the train station. And the other thing
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the other thing I saw this week is that it looks like Hopjacker, which is based in Drumfield, is up for sale as a brewery. Not many details on this in a minute, but I did see something from White Lion saying that their new beer was potentially their last one. I think it's called.
Right.
So it's for sale. So if anybody's looking for a brewery in Drumfield, which is a pretty decent little drinking area, if anybody's not been out there.
I kind of think that Hopjack are a brewery that have got a bit quiet of late.
I think
in terms of the last
been,
probably 12 months. I was a lot more aware of them, kind of, maybe not quite a year ago, but certainly the last 6 months I've not really been noticing stuff that they've been doing, because they're another one that the beer labels tend to be fairly distinctive, don't they? With
I don't think they do any kind of packaged beer, so it's essentially if you're a drinker in the area you will get it. Very kind of hazy, unfined beers, not scared of doing something a bit unusual or adding an ingredient. But I've always been very, very impressed with Hopjacker beers. Ed, I think it's Ed the brewer there. So fingers crossed that kind of resolves, or either Ed moves somewhere else, or I don't know. Very minimal kind of information at the minute, but something to keep an eye on. If you're wondering where the Hopjacker beers are, it might be that it's not being brewed anymore.
Fair enough. I've only got one bit of gossip, and it is also a new pub bit of gossip. But obviously I live just off Ecclesall Road, so I live in Sharrowvale, which is a great place to get a beer, because you've got the Les Car, where we're recording in a couple of months, which is great. You've got the Beer House, where we'd love to go and record, but it's too noisy, we can't. You've got the Ecclesall Ale Club, where exactly the same thing applies. You've got the Stag, which is a great pub, but we're going there tomorrow. What else have you got? You've got tons of pubs around there. There's loads of them. You've got Porter Cottage, Porter Brook maybe less so, but every so often it'll have a decent.
Portland House,
there's tons, and actually it's not far up the road to Greystones, and then the other direction, Portland House and Beer Engine, all that kind of stuff. So it looks like there's going to be another new micropub opening on Ecclesall Road. Strangely enough, about like 2 or 3 doors down from the Ecclesall Ale Club. It's a building that used to be called, is it Nourish? Used to be like a kind of a healthy food thing. Didn't last very long.
That's why no one's ever heard of it.
Probably. But there's a sign up on the window there that an application's gone in to turn it into effectively a micropub. Looks like doing something involving maybe a bit of food, maybe some live music as well. We'll have to wait and see on that one, because clearly it's still at the licensing stage. But that could. That could either really round off a really good pub route, or it could be the beginning of the kind of the oversaturation of the market around there. I think a lot of people will have a real loyalty to. I have a huge loyalty to John at the Beer House and James at Ecclesall Ale Club. Both people that I've just got to know through drinking in their pubs really, and then if a new place comes along, doesn't really matter how good it is, I'm still going to feel a little bit of a loyalty towards those two. And when you're just having a quick after work drink or something like that, I kind of rotate between the two. Bit of a problem if there's somewhere else that comes along, so I don't know how I feel about it.
No, it's somewhere I don't go enough, I suppose, but there is a bit of a gap, in Ecclesall Road. I think that for someone that's quite a trendy kind of place, it still lacks probably a representable, percentage of options for us as proper beer drinkers. Really? Let's just watch the space. I think I imagine I've heard on the grapevine that there's a few places maybe appear on Abbeydale Road as well.
Right.
So it's all branching out of Sheffield, I suppose. But we'll see.
So thoughts on Medusa now?
Yeah, I like that. Really good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
it's a good sour. I think a year ago I'd have been absolutely obsessed with this. I think my tastes have changed a bit, and sours that maybe aren't like really quite rich fruity sours. I'm not saying that I dislike them, because I do still like them very much. They don't quite have the same sort of hold over me that they would have done a while ago. But that said, in terms of the actual style of beer that it is, there's a huge amount of flavour going on there. Crazy amount of hops coming through, which it can be difficult to do with a sour that's actually really sour, which this is. So they've achieved something pretty good there. Yeah,
I think it's quite like a raw one. I was thinking a raw one, essentially, like it's got no kind of extra flavours in it. It's very much, if you like a sour without adding extra flavour with like a fruit flavour, this is pretty much down the line as you're going to get, really. Pick it up while it's out there.
We've gone over our half-hour allowance again.
That's all right.
It doesn't matter. Three beers, 10 minutes per beer, I think is fair enough. Are we going to do kind of like where we pick our favourite beer of the night, or is that too kind of main hopcasty? Because I don't think I think probably anyone that's listening to this can probably guess now what the answer is.
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. While it's still out there, if you listen to this quite recent, go and ask your local beer shop for Huckster. It's bright pink. It's got this kind of guy with a hop beard on it or something. It's actually an actual artist who's sort of adapted that. It's
Jim Spendlove.
So he's an illustrator.
It reminds me of, was it Seth in Emmerdale? Reminds me of Seth from Emmerdale.
Yeah, if he grew a kind of a floral beard, that's him. Yeah,
very ferny, isn't he?
Yeah, but yeah. I reckon go and get that. If you, I think that'll suit a lot of different people. And it might be a good beer for somebody who doesn't really, drunk much kind of like Cloudwater Verdant beer, so a bit of a gateway for
anyone that's a bit kind of put off by the style of New England IPA, thinking maybe it's a bit too cool, a bit too hipster. This could be a good crossover beer.
It's very, very opaque though, so you haven't poured a load of you haven't yeasted it basically. Yeah. Looks like lemonade.
Bro. So next Hopcast we are is it Shakespeare's next?
Yes, it is.
It's a big one because I think we said this at the end of the last one, that because we did the first ever Hopcast we did at Bar Stewards, so we deliberately waited a while before we go to Shakespeare, because it is, I think I worked out it's about seven staggering paces. So anyone that's ever been out in Sheffield will know just how close those two pubs are. So really looking forward to that. So that's Shakespeare's at the start of September. Can you believe it's September in a couple of weeks? Absolute madness. We will report back in a couple of weeks from Shakespeare's, and thank you for your company on the second and actually, first actually to time Hopcast Half Pint.